Hello, in this video we're going to look at how humans managed to measure the circumference of the Earth. One of the first estimates for the circumference of the Earth was made by Eratosthenes, who was a Greek polymath. He was in charge of the Great Library of Alexandria in Egypt, and it came to his attention that at noon on the date of the summer solstice, June the 21st, then the sun lay directly over a deep well in the city of Syene, which was some distance to the south, approximately on the Tropic of Cancer. In addition, there were no shadows cast by obelisks and pillars in Syene at that time. These observations implied that the sun was directly overhead in Syene. At the same time, however, in Alexandria, the sun was not directly overhead. Vertical poles and columns did cast a shadow, and Eratosthenes sought to use such a pole to determine the angle between the sun and the vertical. He set up an experiment similar to the one shown here, and by measuring the height of the pole and the length of its shadow at noon, Eratosthenes was able to calculate the angle A, and this value he calculated to 1/50th of a circle, or just over 7 degrees. We can see a representation of that experiment with the pole at Alexandria and the deep well at Syene. Now, assuming that the sun is so distant that the rays of the light were parallel, Eratosthenes could use mathematics to show that the angles A and B here were alternate angles and so therefore equal to each other. He could then calculate the circumference of the Earth using the proportion that the circumference of the Earth, here shown in the blue dotted line, divided by the distance from Syene to Alexandria, represented by the green dashed line, is equivalent to 360 degrees, the degrees all the way around a circle, divided by 7 degrees, the angle bisected from the centre between Syene and Alexandria. The only other thing he would need is to measure the distance from Syene to Alexandria. We don't know how he managed to measure the distance between the two. Some sources say that he employed an army of men to pace it out, and others that he counted the number of rotations of a wheel of a carriage that was driven between the two cities. However he did it, it allowed him to get an estimate for the circumference of the Earth. So how might this look as an exam question? Well, here's an example. Eratosthenes determined the distance from Alexandria to Syene to be 915 kilometres. He determined the angle of the shadow stick at Alexandria to be 7 degrees. Use this information to calculate an approximate value for the circumference of the Earth. Well, to do this, we're going to use the equation circumference of the Earth divided by the distance from Syene to Alexandria is 360 degrees divided by 7 degrees, which comes from the question. We can then substitute our numbers in. We're trying to work out the circumference of the Earth, so we'll leave that as x. 915 is the distance from Syene to Alexandria in kilometres, and that equals 360 degrees divided by 7. Rearranging our equation and solving it, we find that x divided by 915 equals 51.428, and multiplying both sides by 915 gives us that x, the circumference of the Earth, is approximately 47,057 kilometres. Now, have a go at the Kahoot questions and see how well you can answer these questions.